Before we start playing, why don't we put on some new strings and bring that guitar back to life? Before you start, get a nice clean area. We want lots of space to do this. We don't want to be knocking stuff. We don't want the guitar to fall off whatever we're doing it on. Get a nice clean space. Make sure that you put something soft down to protect the guitar. You don't want to put it straight onto a table. It's going to scratch it. You're going to be upset. I'll be upset. Mum will be upset. Everyone will be upset if you do it. Put something soft down onto the surface. So I've got my guitar on the bench. I've turned the lights on. You may have noticed it's a little bit brighter in here. Make sure you can see what you're doing. Don't try and do this at 9 o'clock at night when there's no natural light. I think it's, get it nice and bright in the room. I think it really, really helps. You're going to need some different things, some tools, not many, but you will need them to do the strings correctly. Some wire cutters. These are to remove the strings and cut off any excess. A string winder. Now, you don't need this, but to be honest, I would get one. It really makes it a lot easier. And the method that I'm going to show you today, particularly, we do use it. So I would get one. The next one, really, once the strings are on, is a tuner. And the final part that you will need is a microfiber cloth, because as we're taking off the strings, it's a really good time to give the guitar just a good cleanup. So we're going to do that, and we're going to start by taking off the strings. So what we have to do before we remove the strings and really cut them off is loosen them. So what you need to do is play the string and turn it clockwise, and you'll be able to hear that it's going downwards. And you need to loosen all of the strings. Now, we're going to save a bit of time because we don't have to loosen them all the way. We only have to loosen them ever so slightly so that they're just a little bit loose. Loosen up just like this, okay? Now, you take our wire cutters and carefully cut them. And if they're too tight, they will kind of shoot back, so just be gentle with them. Cool. Now, on the acoustic guitar, now we have to remove the excess strings. On the acoustic guitar, we need to take out the bridge pins. And what you want to do is keep these to one side. And there will be a little tool on your string winder where you can stick them under sometimes, okay? I actually prefer just using the end of the pliers if you're very gentle. You don't want to be going too hard on the bridge pins. Just do it very gently, and you should just be able to just kind of wiggle them out, and they come out nice and easily. Now we can take out the excess strings, and these are ready to go in the bin. Now on the headstock, we have to carefully, very carefully unwind these, because they are very sharp at the end here. So just be very, very careful. I'm going to do it very slowly. I'm going to speed up the video for us, and I'm just going to unwrap them very carefully. Okay, so I've removed the old strings. Now we need to just give it a wipe down. I think, give it a wipe down. It's been a while since we've changed the strings. Give it a wipe. Now, we're going to take our microfiber cloth. I'm going to go and wet this now. There are chemicals that you can put on, you know, kind of woods and, you know, oils for the woods and fretboard oils and all of this. We're not going to worry about that for now. We are just going to use very lukewarm water, very, very lukewarm water. So not hot, not freezing cold, just, you know, tepid water. And we're just going to give it a wipe all over. So I'm going to go wet this and I'll be right back. One thing I should have said before I went to go and wet the towel, we don't need it soaking wet. It's only very slightly damp. Guitars are porous. They absorb water. We don't want to get them soaking wet. It just won't work well. All we are doing is simply wiping down the guitar. It's a good opportunity to get right up next to the frets and try and get off some of that grime. It's a little bit gross, but it does build up over time. And that is a reminder, of course, that you should always wash your hands before you play. I mean, inevitable, you know, you're always going to build up some grime, but, you know, sometimes I see people play right after eating a sandwich and it's not good. So once you're done, remember to get all of that excess water off. Remember, we're just wiping off the top, that's all. So we're done with the cloth now, so we can put that to one side. And now we can start thinking about putting on the strings. So the strings I'm using are D'Addario, and they're phosphor bronze, and they're the custom light gauge. Now, these are the ones that I use on the guitar. They're not the ones that you have to use. I'll do another video on, you know, what are the best strings to use, but the process of putting them on is the same the whole way through. Now, you have to know which string is which to put in which hole. Now, on D'Addario strings, it's usually on the packet here. You can see it says, you know, 6th string on the brass, A on the 5th. If I show you, actually, I might be able to show you here. This one. And it says exactly what to put it on there. So we can take them out of the packet. And we're going to be looking for those colours that are on there. So this one goes brass, red, black, green. So let's just start with those. Brass, red, and black, green. And you can see they're actually paired together. We've got the paired. And on the D'Addario strings, they're the coloured balls at the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unravel the strings. And carefully, remember, these are sharp. They're sharp. Want to just unravel them. They should come apart quite easily. And what you're going to do is you're going to find your bridge pins, which you put safely and carefully to one side. You're going to put them in the holes, and you're just going to pop them in very, very loosely. And what I usually do is just do all of them in one go. But for now, we're just going to do 2, and I'll do them 2 by 2. So I just pop them in the hole, and I put the bridge pin in. Cool. So now we go to the business area. Now this is sometimes, well, it's the hardest bit to get, but I've got a trick for it. So let's make sure you can still hear me. So what we are trying to get, I'll just show you on this one actually. So what we're trying to get is we're trying to get the perfect length so that we get enough wraps around here, but it's not too many wraps. We don't want too many. We only really want 1 or 2 wraps per string, okay? If you don't get it, it doesn't matter. But just as a little tip, this is how to get a really good length. So what you do is you can pop the string in the kind of nut hole there. You can see this is the one we're trying to wrap around. Go to this one. If you go around to the right-hand side, and if you go to the right and go right to left, and just pull it tight and bend it like that. Now what that gives us is the exact measurement that we need to get the right amount of string. So what I do is I pop it in and pull it tight. And that, because I've bent the string there, that's exactly where I need to put it in. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it tight with one finger here. This is important here, this technique. So I'm pulling it tight with one finger, and I'm going to hold this single finger here. Now with my other hand, my left hand, I have my string winder, and I'm going to wrap up like this. Now you can see that the top here, this little bit, this excess is going over the wrap, and that's what we want. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep holding it, and I'm just going to keep wrapping it up, and you can see how this, you know, the string winder makes it so easy now. Perfect. Now that's about how tight we want it at the moment, and it's still pretty loose. There's no point tightening it because we haven't done the other ones. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the other strings, and remember that when you get to the 3 strings on the G, B, and E, on the higher strings, you're going to be wrapping them the other way around, and I'll try and show you that when I get to it. So here it goes. So I can continue with the other strings. Now, when you tighten these strings, sometimes these will pop out slightly. So put your finger in them and just hold them up. That's fine. They don't have to be any tighter than that for now. So I'm going to do the rest of the 4 strings, and then I will join you at the end. Now for this one, we don't have one to, you know, do the measuring tip. So what I would generally do is pull it tight to the machine head. Imagine that I've got another one about there, and what I would do is I would put a kink in it just like that. Okay, and that gives you the length to put it in, just like that. And again, pull it tight and turn it. And my finger is constantly, I'll just move the guitar, it's constantly on that first fret, holding it tight, and it's holding the string underneath the one which we're turning. Perfect. Now again, judging it, maybe holding it tight. Let's try just there. Now this one, exactly the same, but we're twisting it the other way around. So I'm holding it with my right hand now and twisting it. And you kind of know that it's going in the right direction because, well, I'll show you in a second, because they wrap towards the inside. Lovely, that's the one. You can see these ones on the right hand side, they wrap on the inside, and these ones, they wrap on the inside as well. Cool. So again, I'm going up to the machine head and judging a little bit more. Now, because these strings are so thin, you don't need to give it all the way to the next one. I'm going to go about just a bit more than 3/4, and that should be plenty. That's the wrong way, isn't it? And I'm going to hold it nice and tight with one finger. And what's happened here is, as I've been turning this B string, this bridge pin has just popped out. It's not a problem. You just need to push it back in. And when you tighten it up, I'll show you how, but you just hold them in as you're tightening them up. Right, so I've got one more string to do. Okay, so at this point, all of the strings are on. They're very loose, but they're on enough so that we can cut off the excess. Now, I never cut the excess off too low. Just leave on a little bit, but these are just going to get in the way. So just get them off. So I'm going to cut them off with the wire clippers now, yeah? And they can go in the bin, of course. So we've done the majority of it now. Now we just have to tune it up. Now I'm not going to do the tuning. That will be in a different video. But I'll just show you the final little bit that you have to do, because I did mention it before. These bridge pins, they do want to come out. They want to come out, which means, you know, ideally when we're tuning them up, we want them to stay in. So if you hold over the top, and I'll just pop on my leg how I'd normally do it, just put your palm there, and you're going to start tuning just like this. And that's what you need to do when you first start tuning the strings. You'll hear sometimes that the strings kind of pop, and that's totally normal. They're just new strings, and they're not used to being played. And I've roughly tuned it now. So we can go and fine tune it. There's another video on how to fine tune the instrument properly, but that is for it for now. I would say a good thing to do when you have the strings is to stretch them out so that they hold their tuning a little bit more. And this is something that we do immediately after we put the strings on. And a really good way to do it is put your first finger on the first fret and pull at the 12th fret, just lightly, not too much, just lightly. Move up to the 2nd fret with your finger. Move up with your 3rd fret and the 4th. And what we're doing is we're stretching the string at all of the different frets. And what you can do is you can go along all of the strings and do it all in one go. Now it's time to tune it properly.